My suspicions about Mark the chef did not come at all out of a vacuum. The Rav Machshir himself told me from the start to keep an eye on him because he's a son of Israel. Not too long after, a customer called the restaurant also to urge us, the mashgichim, to be careful with this chef. Besides being a Jew hater, they had heard he was fired from Levana restaurant for tampering with kashrut. So after many of these chef's games and kashrut violations, I called Mr. Kirschenbaum around the winter of 2005 to verify those rumors. He only admitted his bad-mouthing the Jews, but denied completely they fired Mark and reassured me that he left on good terms. So when the dairy margarine incident happened, I knew something was wrong. I decided to call Mrs. Levana Kirschenbaum herself, who admitted they did have problems with Mark. And my direct question to her was, do you think he is the type of person to do that kind of thing, like smuggling a dairy product to mess up on purpose the kashrut? She declined answering that question and instead told me to call Sor Kirschenbaum. Well, for the people out there who have been told many times that this chef left on good terms, I'm pretty sure they would have liked to be reassured right away with an answer like, oh, no, he's not the type of person to do this. So that alone would be enough to show that the Levana restaurant had already some kind of bad experience relating to kashrut with Mark Hennessy. But of course, I'm not relying on that to prove my point. And before you get to hear the direct testimony of Mrs. Levana Kirschenbaum that Mark has been fired from their restaurant, please listen to Rabbi Luben from the OU in public on the Brenner radio show on April 22nd, denying that Mark was fired from Levana restaurant. The OU has been very busy lately, spreading complete distortions of the truth they are desperately trying to hide, which is the big blunder of a Rav Machshir who gave his approval to José, the Marais owner, to hire a corrupt chef who had just been fired from Levana restaurant.
We spoke to the people at Levana restaurant and they emphatically denied that that was the case. They said they got involved after 9/11 for financial considerations that had nothing to do with kashrus. And we couldn't substantiate his claims that the person was fired for previously because of attempting to compromise the kashrus. And even though it's true that we hired him, it would be irresponsible for us to accept carte blanche accusations of this nature without investigating it. And in the end, our investigation did not show that there was substance to his claim.
This is an extract of the fourth meeting and the last with the OU, and this one just with Rabbi Luben alone on February 22.
She told you the same thing she told me. She said she wasn't involved and she doesn't know.
No. You told me she does nothing about the chef at all, okay? You told me she knows nothing about the chef. Here, plenty of times that he was fired.
Je sais seulement que lui et sa femme n'étaient pas une bonne équipe pour nous et on a fini avec eux. Et puis c'est...
Je comprends, mais
on est dans le business. Et on en a marre de
je comprends.
I only know that him and his wife were not a good team for us, and we cut it off with them. We are 30 years in the business. If we have enough of a chef.
C'est pas mon truc de faire des choses pareilles, je ne veux pas, moi et j'ai pas ma tête là-dedans, moi j'ai ma tête encore dans...
On s'est pas entendu avec Marc, on l'a renvoyé, point
final. Je comprends, vous l'avez renvoyé, je comprends très bien.
We could not get along with Mark and we fired him, period.
Et vous savez, bon ça...
Vous pouvez parler avec Abraham et lui demander pourquoi pourquoi il a été renvoyé?
Non, la vérité, la première fois que j'en ai parlé, c'était avec Abraham. Et lui, il a voulu tout de suite smooth out things. Non, non, no, everything is okay. No, okay, bad nothing, bad.
Maybe you can talk to Abraham and ask him why was he fired.
C'est pour protéger.
Quelque chose.
Oui.
Si Marc s'est fait renvoyer, qu'est-ce que je m'en fous, moi?
Mais je comprends, mais moi, c'était pour éviter qu'il y ait quoi que ce soit en scandale in the public. Si ça peut s'éviter tout, moi je serais content parce que au moins je n'aurais pas à faire ça. Parce
moi,
que...
je ne peux absolument rien faire que les vannes ne voudraient pas que je fasse.
Let me tell you something. If Mark got himself fired because it was very hard, what do I care? If he loses his job?
Mrs. Kirschenbaum, vous me l'avez...
Nous, on ne s'est pas entendu avec lui après quelques années, on l'a renvoyé.
Oui, et je comprends, mais c'est le point sur lequel Rabbi Schreier, il ment.
Us, we could not get along with him, and after a few years, we fired him.
We never served anything.
Écoutez, quand je vous ai demandé, est-ce que vous croyez qu'il est capable de ça, vous m'avez dit je ne peux pas vous répondre, demander à appeler Saul, c'est lui le manager, demander. Oui. J'ai essayé d'appeler, et les 2 fois que j'ai appelé, ils m'ont dit non, il n'est pas available, ils ne voulaient pas me le passer au téléphone. J'ai dit ok, pour moi c'était clair.
We never served anything Treff. Listen, when I asked you if you think he's capable of doing this, you told me I cannot answer you. Ask Saul. He's the manager. Ask him. Exactly. I called, and the 2 times I called, they told me he's not available. They didn't want to get him on the phone. I said, okay, for me it is clear. Now let me insert the incredible fabricated dialogue by Rabbi Luban on the Sam Brenner show of words that were never said, not by Mrs. Kirschenbaum, not by me. And this just in order to tailor an interpretation of Mrs. Kirschenbaum's answer that will befit the OU's cover-up.
He said to her, I know that he was fired for cautious reasons, and she said, that's not the case. And says, well, it was, and she said, it's not, and so went back and forth a number of times, and finally in the end, out of exasperation, she said, well, if you think that that's what happened, then bring it to the attention of the proper authorities. So he said, Piton said to me, you see, she acknowledged that he was fired for cautious reasons. I said she didn't acknowledge it. She just became exasperated, and she said, look, if that's what you think, then go talk to the OU.
Well, this is the real conversation. When I said to her, I know, I heard, he was doing things behind, always shticks behind the mashgiach, she answered, so you have enough, you have reason to do it.
Je sais, écoutez-moi, j'ai entendu par d'autres personnes qu'il a aussi des trucs par derrière, toujours des shticks derrière le mashgiach.
Alors, vous avez assez de...
Non, c'est pas parce que je veux plus d'informations ou pas. Je me suis dit, peut-être vous pouvez arranger l'affaire en 2 ans, un call à Rabbi Luban pour dire, écoutez, c'est pas la peine pour n'importe qui, it doesn't pay for nobody that it is going to go public. It is true that he was fired. Et raison par raison, c'est autre chose.
Vous croyez les chefs qui travaillent pour les restaurants cachers?
Non, je sais très bien, mais lui, il a dépassé tout le monde. Il a dépassé tout le monde.
Do you trust all the chefs that work for the kosher restaurants? And when I said he surpasses everyone, she says, I know.
Surtout, c'est Khadri pas vous dire
Il me
quelque
demande
chose.
à moi, je leur dirai qu'il a travaillé pour nous, qu'on ne s'est pas entendu vers la fin et qu'on l'a renvoyé.
Voilà, et ça fermera la bouche à Rabbi Schreier qui dit non, il n'était pas renvoyé. Non, je ne savais pas qu'il était engagé par le Marais, alors que Josie, il y a 2 jours, il me l'a confirmé que oui, il le
Comment
savait.
il peut ne pas savoir ce qui se passe?
C'est voilà, un mensonge. Il ment, quand il respire, ce Rabbi Schreier, j'étais époustouflé.
If they ask me, meaning the rabbis of the OU, I will tell them that he worked for us, that we could not get along with him towards the end, and we fired him. And when I tell her about the Rava Machshir's claim that he didn't know about Mark's hiring at the Marais, she answered, how can he not know?